Weeds can be the bane of any gardener's existence, and when you're working with raised beds, they can feel especially frustrating. These pesky invaders compete with your plants for nutrients, space, and sunlight. And if left unchecked, they can quickly take over. Fortunately, I found plenty of ways to keep weeds under control without relying on harmful chemicals. Whether you prefer organic methods like mulching with sawdust or inorganic solutions like landscape fabric, I'll walk you through the best strategies to keep your raised beds weed-free. Oh, and before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Botanical Bliss and share this guide with fellow gardeners who might be struggling with weeds. The more we support each other, the better our gardens will be. One of the best ways to stop weeds before they start is to build your raised beds with weed prevention in mind. If you're just setting up your beds, take the time to clear out any grass, weeds, or roots from the area where you'll be placing them. A mistake I've seen many gardeners make is setting up raised beds directly on top of an existing lawn without any barrier. Weeds will find their way up through the soil if you don't block them. Laying down a weed barrier at the base of your raised bed is a great first step. You can use cardboard, layers of newspaper, or even landscape fabric. Organic materials like cardboard and newspaper will eventually break down, feeding the soil while suppressing weeds. If you prefer a longer-lasting solution, a layer of landscape fabric will provide more durability. Just make sure to poke some holes to allow for drainage so that water doesn't pool up. Mulching is one of my favorite ways to suppress weeds naturally. It does more than just keep weeds down. It also helps retain moisture and regulate soil temperature. Organic mulches are especially beneficial because they decompose over time, enriching the soil. One of my go-to mulches for raised beds is sawdust. It's affordable, easy to spread, and highly effective at blocking light from reaching weed seeds. However, sawdust can absorb nitrogen as it breaks down, so if you use it, be sure to balance your soil with a nitrogen-rich amendment like compost or a natural fertilizer. Other great mulch options include straw, shredded leaves, grass clippings, and wood chips. Each has its own benefits. Straw, for example, is lightweight and easy to spread, while wood chips last longer and provide a more structured look. The key is to apply a thick enough layer, at least 2 to 3 inches, to block sunlight and prevent weed seeds from sprouting. If you want an extra layer of defense against weeds, consider planting ground covers. These low-growing plants spread out over the soil, creating a natural barrier that prevents weeds from taking hold. I love using low-growing herbs like thyme and oregano in the edges of my raised beds. Not only do they keep weeds away, but they also add beauty and fragrance to the garden. Another great option is using living mulch, which is essentially a fast-growing crop that covers the soil. Clover, for instance, is a fantastic choice because it fixes nitrogen in the soil, improving fertility while blocking weeds. Plus, bees and pollinators love it. Sometimes, no matter how much prevention we do, a few weeds will still pop up. When they do, it's important to remove them correctly to prevent them from coming back stronger. The best time to pull weeds is after a rain when the soil is moist. This makes it easier to get the entire root out without leaving bits behind that could regrow. For deep-rooted weeds like dandelions, I use a simple weeding tool or a garden fork to loosen the soil around the base before pulling them out. If you just yank them out without loosening the soil, you risk breaking the root, which means the weed will come right back. One thing I've learned over the years is that consistency is key. Make it a habit to check your raised beds regularly and remove weeds while they're still small. The longer they sit, the deeper their roots get, making them harder to eliminate. If your raised beds are already overrun with weeds and you want to reset your garden, solarization is a powerful technique. This method uses the sun's heat to kill weeds and weed seeds in the soil. To do this, simply cover the surface of your bed with a clear plastic sheet and leave it in place for 4 to 6 weeks during the hottest part of the year. The trapped heat will effectively cook the weeds, making it easier to clear the bed and start fresh. One thing to keep in mind is that solarization can also kill beneficial microbes in the soil, so once you remove the plastic, it's a good idea to add compost to replenish nutrients and beneficial organisms. If you're looking for a more permanent weed suppression method, landscape fabric can be a great option. I usually reserve this for beds where I'm growing perennials, like strawberries or herbs, since it's not ideal for frequently changing plant layouts. To use landscape fabric effectively, lay it down over the soil and cut holes where you want to plant. Then, cover it with mulch or soil to keep it in place. This method blocks weeds while allowing water and air to reach plant roots. However, it does require some maintenance. Over time, soil and debris can collect on top of the fabric, creating a new place for weeds to grow, so be sure to refresh the mulch layer regularly. For weeds that just won't quit, boiling water or vinegar can be an effective spot treatment. Pouring boiling water directly on weeds will kill them instantly by destroying their cell structure. This works best for weeds growing in pathways or along the edges of raised beds where you don't want any plants to grow. Vinegar is another natural weed killer, but you have to be careful with it. It can kill any plant it touches, so I only use it when I need to target weeds directly. A high-strength vinegar, at least 20% acetic acid, is most effective, but even household vinegar can work on young weeds. Just be mindful that vinegar can also make the soil temporarily acidic, so use it sparingly. The key to dealing with weeds in raised beds is a combination of prevention, maintenance, and strategic interventions. By starting with a strong foundation, using mulch and ground covers, and removing weeds before they take hold, you'll save yourself hours of frustration later on. Weeds are inevitable, but they don't have to take over your garden. With a little effort and the right methods, you can keep your raised beds looking beautiful and productive all season long. If you found this guide helpful, make sure to subscribe to Botanical Bliss and share this with fellow gardeners. I'd love to hear what methods you use to keep weeds under control, so drop a comment and let's keep the conversation going. Happy gardening!